From Jay-Jay Okocha, who was 10 years older than his official age throughout his career, to this Indian footballer in his 30s who pretended to be a 16-year-old. Here are the 10 footballers who shamelessly lied about their age. Oh, the naughty ones. Some people would literally kill father and mother just for the privilege of participating in a World Cup. Fortunately, not everyone is like that. And some people just change their date of birth just to look a bit younger than they really are. This is the totally unbelievable but true story of Carlos Alberto Jr., a Brazilian footballer who played as a defensive midfielder in small to medium-sized clubs. But like all Brazilians, Carlos Alberto dreamed of being able to participate in a World Cup, and why not even win it for his country? Unfortunately for him, Carlos Alberto did not have the talent required to be selected by the mythical Selección. And his dreams of being able to wear the blue and yellow livery during a World Cup vanished, like a pile of dead leaves scattered by the wind. But Carlos Alberto did not give up, because he had concocted a plan to achieve his goal, and he intended to carry it out. The defensive midfielder began to falsify his date of birth documents, pretending to be a native of 1983, when in fact Carlos Alberto was born in 1978. The unscrupulous player was thus able to become miraculously 5 years younger, which allowed him to apply for the Brazilian U20 team, where he was received with praise. Much more physically mature than the other players and having more experience, Carlos Alberto managed to stand out very quickly, to the point where he was selected to participate in the World Cup of Soccer of the under 20 years of 23. But the funniest part in the story is that this scoundrel of Carlos ended up concretizing his dream, since it is his country indeed which won this World Cup. The truth will finally be discovered in November 2006, and Carlos Alberto will be condemned by the sport justice to a 360 days ban, that is to say almost 1 year of exclusion from the fields. Some women have this little habit of lying about their age, by coquetry or simply because they do not particularly want to appear old. But for professional footballers, it's a completely different matter, because you'll have understood that in high-level sport, age is a crucial factor and even almost a determining factor. And it is certainly not Toby Bayard Mimbo who will tell you otherwise. Acano Parbleu. You may never have heard of him, but it must be said that this former Cameroonian international footballer had acquired a certain footballing notoriety in the mid-90s until the early 2000s. Excellent defender, Mimbo played for several clubs in South America, Turkey, and even China, while defending the colors of his flag in the national team of Cameroon. But during his prolific career, the Cameroonian defender has declared several different dates of birth, which has created a real imbroglio among the many teams for which he could play. In 1996 for the CAN, Mimbo had indeed declared to be born in 1964. But when signing a contract with a Turkish club, he added 10 years more, declaring this time to have been born in 1974. And to play in the CAN 1998, the Cameroonian defender said he was born in 1970. And again, nobody asked him any questions, and he could play quietly in the competition. His age remains a total mystery even today, although it is believed that the year 1964 could be his date of birth. If the fountain of youth really exists, you can be sure that it is in Nigeria. You may remember Jay-Jay Okocha, the virtuoso striker who played for Paris Saint-Germain before the club became a Qatari property. Okocha hung up his boots in 2008 when he was officially 34 years old, but you would have had to add another 10 years to get the right count. The Nigerian footballer has always lied about his age, although he is not really the only one to have done such a misdeed. In fact, most professional players in Nigeria do not really look their age, because they simply falsified their birth certificates to look younger. And this is not really new, since already in 1988, Nigeria had been banned by FIFA from all international matches, and this for a record period of 2 years. This terrible sanction was applied when it was discovered that the dates of birth of at least 3 of its footballers at the Olympic Games were false. but this has never prevented players from registering false dates of birth, so that even today we learn that many footballers who were thought to be in their 30s have exceeded the 40s for a long time, and that some of them have even become grandfathers. Meshakalaya is a very promising young Congolese footballer who currently plays as a striker for the Swiss club BSC Young Boys. At 25 years old, this young player already has a nice little record of achievements, and given his young age, the future will certainly hold some nice surprises in store for him. But that's where the problem lies, because you see, Meshakalaya is suspected of having fiddled with his birth certificate to look younger than 5 years. Yes, the Congolese would not be born in 1997 as he affirms it, but well, in 1992, and would be thus 31 years old. The deception is not insignificant, because on the international transfer market, it is mainly the age that determines your value. Take for example the case of Cristiano Ronaldo, a living legend of the round ball, who is worth hardly more than 20 million euros just because he is 38 years old. And next to him, you have Mbappe at 180 million, only because he was born in 1998. So you understand why the smart guy Elia wants so much to pass himself off as a youngster, and especially does not want his real age to be disclosed. Because if this is the case, his market value could literally melt away like snow in the sun at the next mercato. Wiran Inda is the perfect example of the young Senegalese footballer who came from the most miserable background and who managed to make a brilliant career in Europe. Inda had indeed grown up in poverty and deprivation, but with a real talent for football. He was spotted very early by European scouts who were completely fascinated by his quality of play and the extent of his footballing prowess. That's how Wiran Inda ended up in France, where he played for several big clubs in France, including Sochaux, Nantes, Saint-Étienne, and Lens. His incredible sporting career even took him to England and Spain, where he made a very good impression with his undoubted defensive qualities. But in 2016, and after a successful career, the Senegalese player will definitely hang up his boots. His contract with Lens has not been renewed, and his 32 years do not offer him any more prospects. Although, if only they knew, because in reality, Inda would have had to add at least 10 years to his contract, which meant he was actually retiring at the age of 42. Former defensive midfielder had indeed confessed to having doctored his date of birth in Senegal in order to fit in the standards of Western recruiters. The worst is that Inda even declared that this was the norm in Senegal and in several other African countries for that matter, so that 99% of professional players hired in Europe would have lied about their real age. What do you do if you are a soccer fan, you want to play for AC Milan, but your age doesn't allow you to? Well, you fiddle with your birth certificate, of course, and with the magic of a single stroke of Blanco, you are at least 10 years younger, or more if you prefer. This is what Yusuf Yaffa did when he presented himself in 2014 to the Italian immigration authorities. To be recruited by AC Milan, Yaffa claimed to have lost his passport and therefore declared to the agents that he was born on December 31, 1996, which made him therefore an age of 18 years. However, in reality, the Gambian player was much older than he claimed, since the archives show that he was born on November 14, 1987, and that he was therefore 27 years old. This fraud allowed him to play in Italy with teenagers, while he had the physical abilities and experience of an adult footballer. According to his Wikipedia page, which obviously did not carry out its little investigation, Yusuf Yaffa would be 26 years old today, whereas in truth, he would already be 36 years old and some dust. We continue with this sequence, which takes us directly in South America, because our next impostor is of Ecuadorian nationality, Gonzalo Chilla was a midfielder who was doing quite well on the field and who had played with several big clubs of the place. His market value soared between 2009 and 2010 when he won with his team several major titles in South American soccer. But it was also in 2010 that the scandal that almost cost him his career and much more. Because it turned out that Gonzalo Chilla was not what he claimed to be, and that he played under a false identity. The Ecuadorian footballer had indeed usurped the identity of an evangelical pastor in order to pass himself off as younger than he really was. The midfielder was called in truth Angel Kim, and he was born in 1981 and not in 1984 as he pretended. Gray Mookie is a name that may not mean much to you, but he is a true celebrity in the Indian subcontinent, and his fame extends even to Asia. But don't be fooled, because it's not for his abilities or his soccer exploits that Gray is known, but rather for having swindled the Indian Federation about his real age. And what a swindle! Figure that this little redneck with a garlic mustache and blonde hair passed himself off in 2018 as a young teenager of 16, while he was then 28 years old. This notorious impostor was thus able to play with young prepubescent kids, whom he considerably surpassed in strength and experience. We return to Nigeria for this sequence to meet a young or old local footballer who has made the African headlines with his adventures with the CAF. This Nigerian goalkeeper, who goes by the name of Adeboye, and who is currently playing with the local team Plateau United FC, has simply cheated on his real age in order to be selected with the Nigerian youth team. This deception earned him the right to play in several international competitions, including a FIFA U20 World Cup and the 2012 Summer Olympics qualifiers. The unscrupulous goalkeeper is now officially 32 years old, but if you really want to know his real age, you'll have to add at least 10 years. And as always on your favorite YouTube channel, we have saved the best for last. With this amazing sequence, you probably want to know why, don't you? Well, take a look at the picture of this Sudanese goalkeeper and try to figure out how old he is. If you think that this goalkeeper is already over 30, bingo, you're absolutely right though. Because Goodwill Simon's official age is 18, and in all likelihood, he has just blown out his 18th candle. In any case, this is what the Football Federation in South Sudan is claiming, although we don't really want to believe them when we see the phenomenon.